You know, when I look around at all the entrepreneurs who are grinding it out, spending 70 to 80 hours per week growing their business, you have to ask yourself the question, at what cost? Hi, my name's Tim Uchuk, and in this podcast, we're going to be exploring the tools, tactics, and strategies for crushing it and scaling your business without making the ultimate sacrifice of your time and freedom.
Hey, what's up guys? Tim Uchuk here, and I have my coffee. It is early in the morning. This is my favorite time of day when it's nice and quiet in the household. So thought I would record a quick episode for you. And we just actually finished up, it's the start of a new quarter. So we just finished up our planning for the next 90 days. And for those of you who have not heard the podcast, I talked about it in one of the recent episodes. But if you are not working in seasons in your business, meaning you set measurable targets across your business every single 90 days, you're missing out big time. This is something we've been doing for years, and this completely transformed my business. So if you're not doing it, you're missing out. This is how the fastest growing companies do it. They create, it's kind of like the Goldilocks, not too short, not too long, right? We overestimate what we can get done in a week, but we really underestimate what we can get done if we focus within 90 days, within a quarter. So if you haven't, definitely recommend checking out that episode. In this one, I want to talk about your team, and specifically, I want to talk about what it looks like to build a culture that attracts and retains great people. What does that look like? And I'm going to start with a quote by Toyota. Toyota, I mean, I can't say enough in terms of the road that they've paved for all of us when it comes to building people. But they always say we build people before we build cars. And again, I had posted on, if you look at the success, the results, the sales, and profitability of the top car manufacturers, they're number one, obviously, and number two doesn't even come close. And I think their secret weapon is in large part because of this, their respect for the people. And so specifically in this episode, I wanted to talk about 3 strategies that you can use to magnetize your business and attract those A players, and then retain them and start to build a winning culture around you. So not everything kind of lives and dies on your shoulders. Okay, so number one I want to talk about is magnetizing A players into your business. And it's amazing to me when you go on sites like Indeed or ZipRecruiter, how many businesses out there have commoditized themselves. Like you recognize the value of marketing. You know, you've got your USP, unique selling proposition. How do you differentiate yourselves when it comes to marketing your business? The same is true when it comes to attracting people. And again, it amazes me. People are so lazy when it comes to posting job ads where they all look the same. Sales account manager, sales account manager, sales account manager. You see hundreds of them when you type in sales. They all look the bloody same, which is a commodity, right? So how do you differentiate yourself? Well, number one, post something different, all-star sales account manager, something that's going to make them say, wait a second, this is different. Because if they're an A player, they're not looking for a commodity, just another job. And chances are they're going to be in pretty high demand. I'm watching the NBA drafts right now, and everybody's picking. There's one left. The Kawhi Leonard is the one guy that's left remaining, and he's just biding his time. And everybody's chomping at the bit to get him. I think it's down to the Lakers, the Clippers, and Toronto Raptors. So everyone's chomping at the bit. So how do these organizations attract him? They've got to do things differently. And I know he had asked, I heard yesterday, he had asked about, if I'm going to be playing with you, I don't want to be playing back to back. I want to be refreshed. I want to make sure that you guys have top medical facilities and staff. He had all these demands, right? Because he's one of the best players in the league. And so if you want to have the best players be attracted to your business, what are you doing differently? What that's going to attract them? And you might know it, but how are you going to articulate it so that you can attract them? So here are 2 strategies for magnetizing them from ads, because you can't really you can't speak for yourself when you're posting a job, or at least until you use the strategy I'm going to be sharing with you. Okay, so think about when you're creating an ad and posting it. First of all, the title when you post it, you got to make it different. You got to make it exciting and stand out so you can convert the click. You can get them to stop on your ad, and the only role of the posting is to attract the right person and get them to click, right? It's marketing. Secondly, when they click on your job posting, don't just talk about the responsibilities like managing a territory, growing sales. Every other posting is going to have that. Before that, you want to players look for companies that have a bigger purpose and companies that have a soul. And so what I mean by that is, what's your vision? What are you guys working towards? And you can describe your soul by essentially that's your core values, to show that you stand for something, because they want to know that they're coming into a safe environment where people actually have integrity, they have values, so that it's not just money driven. Players are not driven just by money. They want something more. So at the very top of your job ad, you should be, if you don't have core values, first of all, you should have them. So for example, some of ours are, we've got a results only work environment. Happiness first, we serve, and so we talk about them all the time in our business. And this occurred to me. I didn't realize all the stuff that I'm sharing with you until a few years back, going back around 5 years, where I kept asking people, what attracted you to apply for this job? And sure enough, they would say, was reading about your core values and they resonated. So as an owner, you may take it for granted, but if you're not putting your core values into your job description at the very, very top to see if it's a good fit, you are missing out, and you're not going to be attracting players, plain and simple. You're a commodity, and it's going to be more randomness, whether or not you attract them. Second strategy is, how do you give yourself a bit of a soul? So I use a tool to record a video right at the top of the job postings, where it's literally a video of me sharing my screen saying, hey, it's Tim, president of TK, and I just wanted to reach out and thank you for your interest in applying. I want to give you a little bit of background on our business and what we stand for. So it's literally like a 2 or 3 minute video of me talking. And again, when I ask them what attracted you, they will say, I watched the video and it seemed like a place that I could work at. So again, you're differentiating yourself from the rest of the pack, and you're showing that you've got a human side and a video. And who else does that? Players are attracted to people who are a little bit outside of the box, right? They want something that's going to challenge them. And those 3 things that I mentioned, so your headline for your job posting, sharing your core values in the video, are going to do that. And so that's step 1 of attracting and magnetizing great people into your company. If you don't have these things, you're going to have terrible odds, and it's just going to be randomness, and good luck using that strategy, because everyone else is doing that, right? Other than they're spending money to boost and and doing it that way. But even then, if you're not standing out a little bit, then again, you're on the same playing field as everyone else. The other piece is, if within Indeed, if you haven't gotten a rating, I recommend doing a rating campaign. So some of these job sites, you can rate the business. You could just get your team to put in ratings for the business, so you can start to get stars next to your job ad. That's another good strategy. Okay, so let's say that you've hired an player. You want to set them up for success and hopefully retain them, so they're not quitting and bouncing around every year. The best way to do this is to set a good first impression. First impression really, really sets the tone. And so think through your onboarding process and map it out in terms of, okay, so what are all the things that need to be done prior to? So we've got a checklist for 1 week prior to. We have a checklist for a day prior to. So for example, for the week prior to, it's setting up all the accounts, technology, making sure they have their computer and everything. A day prior to, we set up their office, their computer. One of the items on our checklist is to write a nice note that says welcome with a happy face. So it's like a nice human touch. Think about like an Airbnb experience, right? That great first impression, you want to wow them. We buy them lunch on day one. That's in the checklist. And then you set the agenda. So the supervisor or manager should have that ahead of time. So map it out, follow up on day 2, 1 week after, follow up, check in, make sure they're happy. 1 month after, follow up, check in, make sure they're happy. 3 months after, check in, follow up. And really choreograph the ideal onboarding experience. So that's number 2, is setting the right first impression by thinking of yourself as, again, like a top-rated Airbnb. They're top-rated because they've thought about the experience. And you should too, especially if you want to have an environment where you're cultivating and attracting a great team, a world-class team. And as they say, culture eats strategy for breakfast. Number 3, again, so I talk about respect for people all the time and what that means. And respect for people is respecting their potential, respecting what they're capable of. You can do that by distributing ownership. And this is where most business owners get hung up, is that they're perfectionists and they want things done a certain way. And the fact of the matter is, when you're training someone and they're starting out, they're not going to do things perfectly, and they're not going to be you. And so my thinking is, there are many doors to the same house. Some people are going to do it differently. How I get around this and how I set up guardrails for when I'm handing things off is to really define the success criteria. So like, if you do this, 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 and this, all things being equal, if you're doing these things, then have at it. Use your own kind of strategy and ways of getting there. So that's one way, is creating bumper rails or guardrails by defining the success criteria very clearly, so that they understand and they have context for what success looks like. And then, respect for people and distributing ownership, which again, A players love the opportunity to grow, and you can give them the opportunity to grow by distributing ownership. So that means, very specifically, if you've got a sales manager, for example, he owns your sales. He owns the numbers, and he's measured on the success and the health of the sales department. He's responsible for the processes not only being documented but adhered to. So that's theirs. You put it on their shoulders and articulate it very clearly to say, okay, do we have a standard for using our CRM? If not, can you document it? So what does healthy look like? Well, it looks like 90% of our activities are not overdue, for example. It means that we have targets established for meetings weekly. It means that we have targets established for quotes going out weekly. And it means that we have a recurring weekly sales meeting where everyone's reporting on their numbers. And you're responsible to make sure that these things happen. So what does healthy look like? How can we measure it? And distribute that ownership by saying, you own these numbers, you own these metrics, you own the health of this department. And by the way, I'm here to support you. So it's not like you're sending them off to live or die by success. And that's almost setting them up for failure. But you want to set up an environment where they can grow by giving them ownership, and then saying, how can I support you? Let's work together to set up this structure so that you can be successful. And so that is distributing ownership, showing your team respect. That's what great people love. They love that opportunity to grow, as we all do, and to cultivate an environment where people have that opportunity. There are many doors to the same house. So if you set up guardrails in terms of the numbers and the systems and what success looks like and feels like, then you're off to the races. And your people, they're just going to be finding opportunity and challenges, all those things that we all look for in our personal needs for growth and within our journey. And then if you've got your core values set, you do things like volunteer, you give back. It's not just money driven. So we volunteer once a quarter. That's attractive to our people because we're giving back. There's a bigger picture to what we're about here. So I hope that's helpful. Those are the 3 strategies that have really helped us to attract and retain great people, which is one of my secret competitive advantages. So number 1, magnetize A players when you're posting job ads by sharing your core values. Have a listing title that's a little bit different, like All-Star, looking for All-Star Sales Account Manager, something that's a little bit different to get the click. Number 2, And then having that video is another hack on the job ad. So they can see a video of you kind of describing your company, so they can see there's a face to the name. Number 2, think about your onboarding experience, and consider creating a checklist, a week before, a day of, and so on. And, a lot of people get paralysis by analysis. So start simple, and it's something that we're always working on ours, and it's evolved over time. So start simple and just put something together and evolve it over time. But think about that. Create a good first impression through your onboarding experience. Set them up for success. Number 3, distribute ownership by showing respect for your people, by allowing them to actually own a process. And so let's say, again, in any of your business functions, if one doesn't exist, have them document it. So rather than you doing it for them, have them do it. And if they need support or feedback, involve the stakeholders, give them feedback, support them, but have them own it. And the best way to learn, by the way, if somebody's new, have them document it. The best way to learn is to teach. So have, if you've got a new person and there's no procedures documented, best way to learn is to teach. One last quick hack when it comes to documenting. This is an area where people get really hung up. And so there's a tool that I use called Loom, Loom.com, which is recording quick videos. So we use this as a tool for quickly doing a screenshot or talking through a process. A video is worth 1,000, 10,000 words. So that's one secret strategy that we use. The second is when you're thinking about documenting a procedure, it's best to use ask the question, what are the 20% of things that we do that drive the 80? So you do a Pareto analysis, keep it simple. But the goal is for, you've got it when somebody can go through the document and without having to talk to anyone, they can achieve success. They can achieve that desired result. So Loom is one way you can do that by using that tool. Number 2, when you're documenting it, the quick and easiest way to do it is to start with the important steps chronologically. I'll give you a quick example. So let's say that you're documenting how to hire. So the important step that's universal there is you need a job description. So important step number 1 would be job description. What's the number 2? You got to post it. What's the number 3? Filter applicants. What's the number 4? Hire. So there's 4 important steps that are pretty much universal. Now within each of these steps, there's a bunch of things that need to get done. So within those, you would have success criteria. So for example, success criteria in creating your job ad would be must use our template. Success criteria number 2 would be must get approval from our HR manager. So there's all these little boxes that need to be checked within each of these important steps. So if you follow this, obviously who's doing each of the important steps. So which role for each of the important steps, and then use a tool like Loom for creating a video to show, okay, here's how we do it. That's the fastest, easiest way to document something. So if you have not, if you've been struggling with documenting processes and procedures, do that and keep it simple. If you're looking for more strategies, in our Perfect Week coaching program, we have all these tools already done for you, as well as training on how to use them. But with that stuff, I think if you follow these 3 strategies, you'll be off to the races. And wishing you success and luck when it comes to attracting, magnetizing A players in your business, building a world-class culture. I'm going to get back to my morning routine here. Otherwise, hope you guys found value in that, and we'll talk to you soon.
Hey, Tim Uchuk here, and real quick, if you enjoyed this podcast episode, if you could take a couple quick seconds to give it a rating, it would be very much appreciated. And secondly, if you're looking for more tools and strategies on how you can crush it in life and business, just head on over to bookwithtim.com, where I've put together a free case study which shows you how to unlock unprecedented freedom today by using the 2 power levers. Just head on over to bookwithtim.com. Until next time, wishing you success and freedom in your business. Cheers.